Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. I am so happy that you're here today. And I am so excited to bring to you Robyn Goldenberg, who is a business strategist deeply invested in the success of small businesses navigating the messy middle of growth, where revenue is real, responsibility is heavy, and leadership gets lonely. She is the president and co owner of Strategy Leaders, a 30-year business consulting firm, the founder of Bad Bee Marketing, and co founder of Fine Staff. Her work is shaped by lived experience, stepping into leadership of a legacy business while building her own companies, balancing growth with stewardship, and learning firsthand how systems, people, and life events collide inside real organizations. Robyn works closely with $1 million to $15 million businesses to help owners build durable systems, strengthen decision making, and grow in ways that protect both the business and the humans behind it. Wow. Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always funny listening to other people read my bio.
I know. And sometimes you like, is that me? Yes, indeed. And I like the term that you say, messy middle of growth. And you ain't never lied. So what's it really like to operate in the messy middle of growth?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, as business owners, when we start to get to that over 1 million in business, we feel it. We know what that's like. But you go from building this kind of tent pole business, right? Think of like a circus tent. So you are the reason the business stands. And at some point, we have to make this change, right? From I'm not going to be the only person supporting this business. Now I have to build a house, right? And it gets messy to do that. Not necessarily because it's really technically hard, but it is such a shift in mindset for a business owner to be like, no, this isn't my job anymore. I have staff to do that, or be able to identify like now is the time that I need to add some team members. It feels uncomfortable.
Yes, yes, it does. And even though I'm not $1 million earner, I'm in that place
Hmm.
because it's only 24 hours in a day. And
Yep.
part of that, I have to sleep.
Nah, that's not necessary.
And, I had to, I'm starting to build my team because I'm realizing that in what I do, I can't do it all. And even though I'm building it and I have, one person at a time, you still want to hold it.
Yeah, it's like I got it. I could do it faster. That's the one thing I always hear, and I even like I'll still revert to that. Like I could teach you how to do this, or I could do it right now really fast. And
Yeah.
that is the habits, one of those habits that we have to get out of, right? Is like, no, no, I have people, or my job is to train these people so that I don't have to do that.
Yes, yes. So, Robyn, how do you disconnect from that space of I've got to do it?
Yeah, so let me start with like it's not easy. So I get that. And it also sucks. And I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm going to tell you how. So we have built these businesses that run on us only, or maybe us and one other person. And we like that feeling of being the firefighter. It brings like dopamine to our brains, right? Like, yes, I solved that problem. What's the next problem? I'm going to solve it. And when you start to delegate things to people, it doesn't give you the same dopamine effect. And so ultimately, your body is like, this is wrong. This isn't okay. Like, a lot of business owners I see, they get bored or they're really stressed and then they micromanage. And so, what I like to do with my clients is essentially what I call a time audit. So, it's an Excel spreadsheet. I'm happy to link it. But it is, I want you to document your week, everything you do, which sounds crazy, but we do a lot of things
Mm,
that I don't even think we realize we do, or we spend more time on things like I checked my email for 3 hours. Well, why did you do that? Right? Like there's all these little things that we're doing as business owners that have become so second nature. And so once we do the time audit, what I like to do after that is to go through and say, okay, is this something that you have to do? Or is this something that you like to do? Or is this something that we could train someone else to do? Where does this fit in those categories? And then I think it's important to remember that as business owners, we're the most expensive employee in our business. And so if it's a little tiny task, why are you paying whatever your hourly rate works out to, $200 an hour? Why are you paying that essentially to do that task when someone else can do it for less, probably better, if we're being honest? And then we can use our brains for more higher power things like generating revenue or setting strategy or things like that.
mm-hmm. Yes, it all makes sense. But getting there, I'm sure, is a hard road.
It is. It is.
So you took on leadership in a 30-year family consulting firm.
I did.
What was that like for you?
Well, my mom started this business. I've been in this business for about 16 years at this point. And moms and daughters, we didn't always get along. And at some point we had to come together and say, like, I'm not willing or interested in this business ruining our relationship. So we need to set some boundaries. And where I find myself now is really interesting because I also have a 3-year-old business, essentially a startup. And so it's interesting to see how you would start a new business with the new technology and things like that, while simultaneously trying to up software, right? An old business that has grown and been built on kind of an older model of operating, like Word documents and things like that. And so it's been interesting to navigate those changes while still paying respect to kind of how we got here. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's been fun. But sometimes I feel like newer businesses, younger businesses have a lot more ability to pivot because there's less drama attached to them or culture or impact. I don't know. But when you make changes, and I see this, I have a couple clients that are in this similar situation. They may be like second, third, fourth generation family members in this business, is that you always feel a little bit stuck on but the previous generation did it this way, so we should continue to do it this way. And you've got to balance the wanting to make changes with not making too many changes for existing staff, and also just to change, right? Is this working and we don't need to change it, even though it seems a little bit outdated? Cool, let's keep it. But is it not working and we do actually need to change it? You have to start kind of like balancing the pros cons.
Yes, yes, and you made a good point there. When and that's with companies that buy other companies.
Hmm.
You know, it's like, okay, to me, you need to make sure you have a good conversation with the staff
Yeah,
because they're gonna tell you what's broke and what needs to be fixed.
yeah,
But what's okay, the way it is, I should say. And a lot of times what happens is CEOs come in and they want to make all these changes. And to me, if it ain't broke, let it be.
yeah. Yeah, I think there has to be a balance. I agree. You get a lot of these kind of younger CEOs who might have come from some sort of tech startup or something where it's always super exciting and there's always money to go around and things like that. And, in small business, that's not the case normally. And so you really do have to find the balance between like rocking the boat just because that's your default or rocking the boat because it's actually necessary to continue to grow.
Yes, right. Exactly. Exactly. For sure. So let's talk about you kind of touched on building a business while growing an established one. So you kind of talked about that, but and some of the emotions and tensions around that. So again, can you what else goes along with that? I can already imagine
Yeah.
in my brain.
Yeah, I think when you take over an established business, or even if you have had an established business, let's say you're just the same leader, right? Is that at some point you need to set boundaries between yourself and your business, right?
Mm,
When we talk to business owners, if you ever met a business owner at a networking event, which I'm sure you have, and you ask them what they do, they almost always say, I own a business. They almost never say, my business does this, right? Because we've built this identity around being a business owner instead of, I happen to have a business. It does these things. And what we see is just an incredible amount of burnout, right? And we're not like employees. We can't just throw in the towel and walk away and go find a new, I guess you could go find a new job if you really wanted to. We have investment into being in this business. And at the end of the day, I can't say, well, I'm just going to go work at Starbucks. Like, shut the doors, we're done. Um, and it becomes a burden almost, this feeling, this weight on you. Like, I'm never going to escape this. And then when you take into account people who have things going on in their life outside of the business, you have family, you've got aging parents, you've got whatever that might be, you have health issues. It really comes down to separating yourself from the business and setting boundaries. I have 3 kids. And I personally, like, I don't take meetings Mondays or Fridays, so I block my calendar. And then, which means Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is usually just jam-packed and crazy, which is fine. And then I always go to the gym in the morning. That is my non-negotiable time to not be in my business. I don't look at my emails. I don't look at Teams. I don't look at anything. I literally just go to the gym and do my things. Um, and I was really flexible with that for a long time. Like, oh, I'll go later. I'll go later. It's fine. But later never comes. You know that. Later never comes when you say, I'm just do that later. And I can see the difference. And I have a couple clients that have set their own boundaries. Not all of them go to the gym. Some of it's like I go for a walk in the morning or I play golf or whatever that might be. And I can see the difference in their leadership, right? They're more kind. They have more empathy. They're not as short with their staff. They don't stress over everything. And what happens is that you have given your brain more space. And you can see it in revenue generation. You can see it in my ability as the owner, as the leader in this business, to use my brain in the best way possible to grow my business. But when you're in the weeds, when you're stuck in the day to day, when you don't get out of the office, you can never get to that point of breathing.
and you're so right. Because I have my day like you. Mondays, don't ask me nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't want to know anything. And I'm an early riser. I get up like between 4 and 5 in the morning. And that's my quiet time. That's my meditation time. That's my time with God. And it's a religious thing. It's like there's no I don't change that.
Yeah.
This is it, and this is the way it's going to be. If you need to talk to me, and a lot of people know I get up at 4, between 4 and 5. So sometimes I get calls from those people that time of the morning. Oh, I know she up, and I won't even answer the phone because
I'm
that's
up, but not for you. Thanks.
exactly. And I see, and like you said, you start to see the difference in how you run your business, how you feeling inside.
Mhm.
When you take that, I call it me time. You know what I'm saying? And at first, when I first started doing it, I felt like I felt some kind of way. It was like I got all this stuff to do, and
Guilty.
why am I sitting here doing nothing? And then it got to, and the more I did it, the more I was like, oh yeah, this is I can't wait for me time. So,
Yeah.
so you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
Probably there's a couple ways. Obviously, my website, that's always a good way to get to me, strategyleaders.com. Um, I am a LinkedIn fangirl. So if you message me on LinkedIn or connect with me, I connect with pretty much anyone unless I think you're going to try to sell me something right away, and then I won't connect with you. This is my pet peeve about LinkedIn. And otherwise, please send me an email, Robyn, Robyn at strategyleaders.com. I love talking to business owners. Even if you're not going to buy something from me, is totally fine. I like to hear your stories. We are the reason that people have jobs in this country. The reasons our communities exist is because of small business. And I'm really here to just be passionate and love small business and support everyone in this community as best as I can.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Wow. So your how does your if people want to become a part of your training, is it a training situation? How does it work?
Sorry, dogs out here being crazy.
It's okay.
This is the joys of small business when you bring your dogs to the office. Um, yeah, so ma'am, come here and sit down. Thank you. If someone wants to work with me, basically what we do is I do kind of a couple intro meetings with them. I don't charge for any of that. It's really to find out if we're a fit. I want to know where you are in your business, where you want to go, what your goals are, where your pain points are, things like that. And then um, as a kickoff, we do a 5 year plan. I like to do a 5 year plan. I know it feels maybe ambiguous. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. But the reason that we do it is kind of like a bucket list, right? So it gets you in the mind of planning because I think a lot of business owners live in the day to day. And I want to start to get you kind of out of that comfort zone, but in a place that is safe to do that. And then from there, we work kind of on more, we do a 1 year plan, and then we work on specific plans for sales, marketing, finance, HR, whatever else needs to be tackled.
Okay, okay. So it's basically a one-on-one.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about scaling and what needs to happen
Yeah.
before you get to that place.
Yeah. So I think a good place to start with scaling your business is identifying the places where the business still runs on you as the owner.
Mhm,
Because if only one person, you, can do that job or believe that you can do that function, then you can't scale it. That's just how scaling works, right? It has to be repeatable. Someone else has to be able to do it. And
mhm,
so that time audit really comes in handy to start identifying those things. But then we have to practice delegating. And what I'm going to tell you is that your staff is going to mess up. They just are.
mhm.
We mess things up. Like, I'm not perfect by any means. I mess things up all the time, right? But it's about learning how they adapt to move forward and how you, as the owner, kind of handle their mess ups. Because if you immediately jump down their throat, they're never going to try to fix anything ever again. Now
True.
you've ruined it. And so it's like tempering your expectations. And the other part that I like to do as a little game is train my staff to, if they have a problem, that they need to come with me to with an answer. They can't just come with a problem. I don't want to hear it. If you're going to come, just are you whining or are we solving this, right? And if you're going to come to me with a problem, I need to know a solution that you've already thought through. It could be totally wrong, which is fine. I just sort of expect it's going to be wrong. So then I'm in that state of like, yeah, it's probably not the best thing. But what I think you'll find is that like people actually have the right answers because you've hired them, right? Then you trusted them thus far and they know what you do. And they might have a better way to do that thing and solve that problem than you might have come up with originally. And so once you can start to build these little like trust nuggets, essentially, you'll be able to um, start to delegate more and delegate more. And the next part of scaling is to build out your processes. You've got to document your systems. You've got to document how you do things, how you deliver things to the customer from back end to customer facing. Um, and it doesn't have to be, I know some companies have like 800 SOPs. That's completely unnecessary. It doesn't have stand dog. Um, but um, a good bank of like 5 or 10 SOPs, processes for your business documented that someone else can follow, that's the way to do it.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question about systems. A lot of people, I mean, I document, I have paper and I have computers. And, with my little team, we have processes that I put in place that we've all put in place because if they're doing a particular job, I need to document it. Document every step that you do because that way, if we have to bring somebody else in to help you, it's not word of mouth.
Yep.
It's all documented. And being in the IT space for forever, documentation is part of my DNA.
Yes.
And
And the AI capabilities out there right now are so amazing that, you could write your very basic SOP or your documentation and then pop it in there and say, these are the other things we also do. And it'll write it for you, right? I think you get into kind of the weeds where you're like, I have to document every step and it has to be perfect and it has to look right and it has to just get a rough outline. Like just get started. It's okay. It's not a like set in stone situation. You're always going to be updating things because
yeah,
someone else might be like, you know what, actually you missed a step, right? We got to do this that you didn't even notice because you just did it mindlessly.
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we've definitely been doing that, and that was already in me to do because I used to have to create documentation for users on applications and everything like that, and had to create pictures because some people can read and don't get it, and you need a picture, and then they like, oh, what I'm saying? So
Now I get it.
yeah, so people learn differently.
Mhm.
So that's kind of already in my DNA. So that glad you talked about that because some people it's all up here and not in a place where somebody else can use it.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Wow. I'm just this has just been such a fun journey because and okay, a lot of times we women entrepreneurs, let's kind of focus on them right
Yeah.
now. And we have babies, and because I remember being pregnant, running a business, and it was not a picnic at
Yeah.
all. And then after the baby, it was really not a picnic.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think the women entrepreneurs are so interesting. I mean, I think women are just so interesting in general, but we have this. I think people believe that we can take on almost anything without complaining, which is probably true. But at some point, it becomes too much, right? I think we carry an extra burden that maybe our counterparts, our male counterparts, don't carry. And I think it's partially we do it to ourselves. But if I don't do it, no one, I think we're the biggest,
Yeah.
we do it to ourselves, right? Well, if I don't do it, no one's going to remember to pack the snacks, right? Or whatever, which is might be true. But um, when we are as entrepreneurs, as business owners, what I see a lot of is, and don't want to use this term in a way that makes it sound mean or rude, but we tend to build a lot of hobby businesses. So we build lifestyle businesses. Maybe that's a better version where it's flexible enough that we can take care of our kids, or we can, which is usually the biggest thing, right? Or family, whatever that might be, aging parents, stuff like that. And we don't spend enough time truly trying to build a growing, profitable business because I think, and I still default to this sometimes, but in the back of our heads, it's like, well, if daycare calls, I'm the one that has to leave, right? My job, my desk. And so if I put too much work into this business, am I not spending enough time with my kids? Am I sacrificing that connection, their growth for my business, for myself? I know like it's really hard to get out of the office, right? To go to the gym, right? You think like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. That takes time away from my kids. Is that fair to them? Right? All these things that go through our heads that maybe like dads don't think about. And we need to stop doing that.
Yes.
It's really hard. I know that. And I completely understand. And we need to be nice to ourselves, which I think we're pretty hard on ourselves generally.
Mhm.
Um, but it's okay to want to grow your business. It's okay to build a killer business that grows and scales and makes money and be a parent and have a life outside your business. Your kids are okay. Like they're growing and they're doing their things. That's okay. Um, just create your goals, focus on what you want to do because I grew up, my mom is a perfect example. She's certainly not a soft lady by any means. And she wanted to grow her business. She worked in corporate America. She made it happen. I didn't suffer. In my childhood, I know that she loved me and loves me now. And, um, we don't have to put that burden on ourselves because everyone is going to be fine. You're doing your best. That's what counts.
Yes, and you stated that so well because we beat ourselves up pretty much for nothing most of the time. And I remember when my son was born, I was running a business, and I had in the office the little swing thing, all of the stuff to help him be entertained while I was doing what I was doing. And then there were occasions that I might have to take him with me to see a client.
Yep.
And I did that. So, it works out. It actually works out because when you have kids, they have to not only adapt, they have to adapt to your life like you have to adapt to their life.
Yes. Yes.
And when you think about it that way, it makes a difference, and as he got older, and moving around, I ended up buying him a computer that he could just beat up on the keys, and he would stick pennies or objects in the floppy drive, because back then it was floppy drives,
Yeah.
but that was his thing to do.
Yeah.
And then I found programs that he could just beat on the keyboard, and colors would pop up and different things would pop up. And that was his entertainment while I was doing my business.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So we can be creative while we raising our kids.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of pictures I have of my son, who's 4 now, just sitting in the little carrier, like
Yes.
on meetings, like on Zoom meetings or whatever. Or I brought him to trade shows. The youngest one is a year. She just turned a year. And literally, like 2 days after she was born, my husband had to go to a conference in Las Vegas, and then his dad died. So I was like, he went to the conference. I'm planning a funeral with his stepmom. Like it was just a whole thing. But you're like, this is just part of being a small business owner
Yeah.
and being a mom. Like I'm not going to apologize for my kid being here. They're allowed to be in spaces. Granted, like I'm not going to let them run amok and be crazy.
Right.
That's just parenting. But, they're allowed to exist here, and we as women are allowed to run our businesses, exist in business spaces with our children. It's okay. I promise
Yeah.
it's okay. And
Yeah.
anyone who is annoyed by it, they could just go away.
Yes. And I never had a problem when I brought my kids to a client's. I never had a problem. Matter of fact, they was, oh, fussing over. We got the job done and it worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you touched on that because we just put so much pressure on ourselves and we don't have to because at the end of the day, we're all human and eventually we're gonna go through the same thing at some point
Yep. Yeah.
for sure. Wow, Robyn, I love talking to you. I love real people and keeping things real and on point. So this has been amazing. So again, how do people connect with you?
Yeah. Please find me on LinkedIn. That is, I don't work for them. This isn't sponsored, but please find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time, social media wise. I'm on there constantly checking messages, posting, engaging with other people's posts. Um, or send me an email. I always tell people you can't bother me. Like if I'm bothered by it, I won't respond. So just know that. But um, Robyn at Strategy Leaders, if you want to chat about your business, hey, I'm feeling stuck here, or whatever that might be, let's talk. I'm here to be helpful.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I feel like with you, you're in good hands because you keep it human. It's like we all live in the human experience. We either going into something in it or coming out.
Yep. I always promise that I won't use MBA speak. I don't have an MBA. Like, I'm not going to speak like that. I won't use kind of buzzwords and jargon. Like, I'm just going to speak to you like a normal person because I'm relatively normal person who runs businesses, right? And so I will talk like that.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, my dear, for stopping by. I truly appreciate you taking time out and giving us all of these gems you just dropped on us. And audience, thank you as well for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.